Hello, Revere, and welcome to our Revere Veterans and Community Show. And today I have a real veteran, one of Revere's finest. He's the Chief of Police, Chief Cafarelli. Welcome to the Revere Veterans Show.
Thank you very much,
First of all, let me thank you 3 times. Number one for your service in the military. Number 2, for what you do as a fine police chief. And number 3, what you do for the community.
It's my pleasure.
And you have something coming up in May, and I'd rather you would talk about it. It's called Coffee with the Police. So could you expand on that for us?
Sure, absolutely. It's our Coffee with a Cop program, and it's another way for us to reach out to the community. We encourage people to come down and sit down, have a cup of coffee with one of my officers. It's all well and good. People can want to come in and talk to me, but I'm the Chief of Police. You should talk to the guys and girls that are going to be going to your house for the calls for service, or your neighborhoods, the people that are going to impact your life directly. So what we do is we have a program. It's called Coffee with a Cop. I'll bring some of my officers in, and we encourage the public, the community, to come and have a coffee with our officers and discuss the concerns you have for your community. This one was going to be on May 21st, I believe.
Right. 9:30.
9:30 to 10:45. It's at the wharf. It's on a Saturday, so we expect people that are otherwise occupied with work during the week can attend this one on a Saturday morning. So I invite anybody with just to come down and have a conversation with us and discuss the problems in your neighborhood or your concerns, or just you get something off your chest. We would encourage that.
Right. I'm going to get back to that, but before we do
I'll be
that,
here.
Okay, talking about problems in the neighborhood, I'd like to talk about, a question came up on this little toy I got here about drugs. Mm-hmm. Could you expand on that for us, too?
The drug problem we're experiencing is nothing that's isolated to Revere. It's nationwide, primarily in the form of the opiates. There was, of
what
course,
do you mean by opiates?
There's opiates and opioids. Opiates are a derivative of the poppy, the opium from opium directly,
okay.
and it's in its synthetic form. So it's not just the opium per se. It's whether it's prescription meds or heroin, anything that's of that classification.
People still, if they have drugs, would it be medication or whatever, drop them off at the police station?
Absolutely. We have a receptacle. It's just inside the front door, and you just anytime you have any.
They don't have to sign anything? Or give any,
you just come down and dispose of it, and we regularly bring it up to Resco and burn it.
And another thing is, can people, I don't have one, let me rephrase it. It's a souvenir, but it doesn't work. If people have guns and they want to get rid of legal, they can still drop them off at the
Certainly, we'll take that. Yeah, we can help you with that.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's good. Now
you don't have an illegal gun in your house, do you?
No.
Okay.
No.
I have to ask.
No. Well,
I got a joke on you this time. Go ahead.
No, I don't have no sense of humor. You got to forgive me,
All right.
Chief.
I know that.
Okay. By the way, before you've been all over the world, so I got to hop around here before I happen
Sure.
to. Now, I want to go back to the coffee with the police. People can come in and they can talk about anything they want.
Any concerns they have with law enforcement, the concerns of the community. We're an open ear. We encourage some feedback from the community we serve. We try to have. We've had several Coffee with a Cop events throughout the city, daytime, nighttime. This one will be the first one that's on a weekend.
Right.
Again, we're trying to get when people are maybe out of school, or they're on a day off. I know it's a Saturday. It's going to be a nice day, and you may not want to spend your day, hanging around the coffee shop with cops. And actually, this one is at the wharf. But stop in, have a cup of coffee with us, and discuss your concerns, whatever concerns you may have. Anything that we can help you with, we will be more than happy to address.
I got to tell you, I would like to discuss. I'm glad you're here. This actually happened to me a couple of weeks ago,
Okay.
and this is no joke. On the internet, one of the people from the veterans, the American Legion, got hacked on the computer.
Yeah.
It came over to me that I won a prize. And the gentleman that, and I use the word loosely when I say gentleman, but I will give you the name after this. And before we leave, I want you to look at it too.
Certainly.
I want you to look at this here. Wanted my information, and he told me that I won a money prize. And to give him all the information that I wanted. But then as I was going down the line, I never did give him anything because I got a little leery of him, and I didn't do any discussion on him. Now, if people do get something that's scam, whether it be on the phone or whether it be on here, is there a way they can contact the police, or they have to go to the AG?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because it happens everywhere. In fact, a friend of mine was recently called by someone claiming to be with the IRS.
I got that too from Washington State.
Yes, and that there is an arrest
Right.
imminent, and you're going to be held for 48 hours unless
I got that the same thing.
And that's a scam. The IRS does not operate in that fashion. And anytime anybody is offering you money or wants to take money from you, and they need your personal information, I can't stress this enough. Do not provide anybody you don't know with that information. When I say do not know, if you're not sitting at a bank talking to a bank official about a loan or somebody in an official capacity, you don't provide them any sort of documentation, any sort of Social Security numbers, dates of birth, anything of that nature. There's so many scams out there, we can't keep track of how many different scams. We just try
They
to
have wedding scams.
Yes,
grandparents
don't give
scams,
anybody any
hospitals.
information. Right. So I'm glad you brought that up. As a matter of public safety announcement, please don't give that sort of information. And if somebody does contact you, get as much information as you may have, whether it's if you have an email address or a phone number, whatever you have, bring it down. We can at least start an investigation here, and we can facilitate it with the AG's office.
What they call it, the police? Is there a special number?
You can just come down and get a report started.
Oh, you got to go down in person?
Call the station. We'll take it from there. We'll start working on it.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Good.
Okay, now, like I say, I'm going to be hopping around. So, by the way, you also mentioned something to me before we went on the air about the Battle of Okinawa, and you have coming up honoring?
Well, we have the Wounded Veterans Run coming up tomorrow.
Oh,
That's tomorrow.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's tomorrow. This will be the 6th annual Wounded Veterans Run. And there will be many veterans in attendance, as well as non-veterans who are supporting veterans. We have 5 local veterans who are going to be recipients of the money raised for this event for a number of different charities that they may be involved with, whether it's to retrofit their houses for handicap accessibility, or some are competing in the Paralympics, or I think the Invictus Games, it was the other one. But be that as it may, one of the guests of honor that's going to be riding, he's not a recipient of any of the proceeds, but he's
Do you know who the 5 are?
I don't have the names. They are on the website. I think they should be posted. I don't have the names, but this year we have our first female wounded veteran that's going to be a recipient of the proceeds. But getting back to the Battle of Okinawa, one of the guests that's going to be riding with us is a World War II Okinawa Marine who served in the Battle of Okinawa, fought in the Battle of Okinawa.
He must be in his 90s now.
Yeah, he's up there. I'm going to leave it up. I'll leave it up to him to disclose his true age. But yeah, he's
got to be in the 90s.
He's a distinguished gentleman, much like yourself.
From Revere?
Much like yourself. He's from East Boston.
Oh.
And so we're looking forward to have him, some Vietnam vets. Some veterans have served in Lebanon with me who are also going to be riding in the Humvees. So it's a very, very diverse group.
Right, when I was in the Middle East, and talking about Lebanon, you spent a few months not too long ago in the Holy Land in Israel.
10 days, actually, yeah. So 10 days,
10
right.
days?
Yeah, at the, right.
Tell us a little about that.
It's a program that is run by the Anti-Defamation League, where they invite senior law enforcement to accompany them to a trip to Israel, where we have the opportunity to obviously to see many of the holy sites in Israel, but not just as a tourist, but see it from the perspective of law enforcement, whereas we get to meet and talk about how their police officers or their military maintain a level of peace and good order in sites that are potential international incidents at the drop of a hat. Something like the Western Wall, or the
Dome of the Rock.
Dome of the Rock, right? There's a young, and I say young, he's probably about halfway through his law enforcement career. Very, very intelligent police officer, well-mannered, a consummate professional law enforcement officer who it made a very good impression on me. His area of responsibility is in the Western Wall in that region, and he's dealing with what could be a potential international incident every time he goes to work. So it kind of puts it in perspective, you know, with what we deal with in a much smaller scale, where, you know, our conduct, how we handle ourselves in our dealings with the public are scrutinized, as they should be, you know, but they're monitored, and any actions that any of our officers take could erupt into something that's into a volatile situation. So what I took back from that is the level of mutual respect that the Israeli police have for the public that they serve, the professionalism, you know, the tolerance. That those are many lessons that we could bring back to the Revere Police Department.
Right. I think that, thank God I live in the United States of America. And
You and me
God,
both.
And thank God I was born here, too. My folks come from overseas, but thank God they came to this country here. You know, it must be hard to land at the airport and then see a bunch of soldiers there with machine guns or guns walking around there trying to protect you. Well, we don't have that in this country here yet. And the reason I say yet, eventually if we don't wake up, it's going to come to that.
I mean, it wasn't very long ago, shortly after 9/11, I was traveling on orders at the time, actually, and you know, and it wasn't uncommon to see soldiers. There was National Guardsmen. We still see the state police at Logan Airport, you know, particularly around the international terminals with, you know, submachine guns, and especially when El Al is flying, their presence is multiplied just because of the terrorist threat.
Right, and then let me ask you, while you was over there, did they have bomb sniffing dogs as well?
Sure. In fact, we got a chance to tour the airport facility, how they vet luggage, how they vet personnel, you know, people, the travelers. You know, they have a very, very intricate system that they use where they scan and even open sometimes, if necessary, luggage that's passing through.
Well, we
it was
do that here
fascinating.
too.
But we take it for granted, and we assume, you know, whatever takes place behind closed doors takes place behind closed doors. We had the opportunity to physically go through the facility and see how they dealt with luggage and how they would deal with if they did in fact come across explosives in somebody's check bag, how they would deal with it.
I got to shut that off.
That's right.
But I want to ask you a question there while you were over there. Did they discuss security at all, like the difference between the security that we have in America and the security that they use? Because I'm sure they've got a, like for example, profiling. Do they profile over there?
It's not necessarily. They have their own you know, targets. They have their own intelligence gathering networks. So that if they have specific, you know, actionable intelligence, they act on it. You know, whereas if they have, you know, through their own sources, they have reason to believe that an attack is imminent, they're able to take appropriate action. So it isn't just profiling, and that may or may not be the best you know, method to use. I think that they use good actionable intelligence that they gather through other assets, other means, and they act upon it. So it was fascinating to see how they use the intelligence that they gather in a successful manner.
By the way, I also understand, you know, we have an election year this year, and the one who's running on the Republican ticket, I won't mention Donald Trump's name, but okay, I don't want to mention, he's talking about building a wall. They do have a wall over there. Did you get a chance?
They do, I did. Yes,
did you get a
yes,
chance?
I did.
Can I ask you how high that wall is approximately?
Oh.
Approximately.
I
mean, you couldn't broad jump it, let's say.
No,
Okay.
it was upwards of 30 feet.
30 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With watchtowers, and to me, it appeared something along the lines of maybe Northern Ireland.
And another thing I was going to ask you, you know, we were talking before about drugs. Like they dig tunnels from Mexico underneath to come into our border. They also have tunnels over there. Did you ever get a chance to see any of them?
No, we didn't see any of the tunnels.
But you know about them.
Yeah, we were briefed on them. And in fact, getting back to the wall, if I could for a minute, we had the opportunity, you know, to see both sides of that wall. because we passed from Israel into the Palestinian Authority in Bethlehem.
Bethlehem?
In Bethlehem,
Yeah,
yes.
that's the West Bank.
Correct, in the West Bank, and we met with the Palestinian police, who have their own sets of problems and issues that they deal with.
Tell us some about it.
Well, you go into the West Bank and you go to Bethlehem, and Bethlehem, as we all know, it's a very prominent place. It's a holy place in the Christian faith.
Right.
It's where Christ was born.
Did you get the chance to see that?
I did.
Where they have the little star down with the candle where you go.
You can put your hand on the spot where
you
they say
crawl underneath,
you do, and I did. And
well, you did?
I put my hand on the spot where they told me that
Right.
Christ was born, and it's an incredible experience. But by the same token, there's Palestinian police officers that are patrolling that area, and much like their counterpart at the Western Wall, they have a balance because their livelihood relies very much on tourism in the city of Bethlehem.
Right.
They can't afford to have a terrorist event that's going to disrupt the tourism that they rely on for their livelihood. So they, much like their Israeli counterparts, were consummate professionals. We had as our tour guide a commander or lieutenant commander. I'm not sure what his rank was, but he's a senior member of the Palestinian police. He gave us our tour of the Church of the Nativity and other sites in the area of Bethlehem. It was absolutely fascinating. And again, they are consummate professionals, much like their counterparts in Israel.
Did you go to Hebron?
No, we did not.
Okay. So that's another place.
It's on my list for the next trip.
Oh, you expect to go back
I'd love
again?
to go back. It's a fascinating country. It made a very, very strong impression on me.
Right. Like I said to you, we were talking about before we went on the air over here about cameras and things like that. I also mentioned to you that in the future that they were going to use chips to put into people so they would know exactly where they are, especially about people who have Alzheimer's and dementia. But you said they have something that they do in that case?
Yeah, we have a partnership with LoJack. Now, LoJack is recognized for their stolen vehicle recovery system, but it's been probably more successful and to us more useful with using it with people like you said, with Alzheimer's patients or
Dementia patients.
Dementia patients, autism, or anybody else that would need to be able to be located should they find themselves lost or maybe outside of the confines of their home. When their loved ones or their caretakers are looking for them, there's LoJack has. It's like a bracelet or a necklace,
right.
like a life alert type thing, where once it's activated by LoJack, we're able to track them down. So it's a good recovery system for our loved ones.
Right. So if a family has a member who has either Alzheimer's, dementia, or autistic, they can notify it and get one. How would they go about getting one?
They'd have to contact LoJack, but that's.
Is there a charge for that, if I may ask?
I don't know that. I'm sure there is, but I'm sure it's something fairly nominal.
So LoJack is the one that takes care?
I believe so, yes.
That's pretty good to know. I'd like to talk to you about the kids in school. To the police, and I think that's where it begins.
Right.
So to respect the law officers.
Right. It's funny you mention that because it's come up. You see people of an older generation. They look back on how police officers were respected. And
I know in my generation they certainly
and mine
were.
too. But I'm a unique case. My father was a police officer, and his brothers were police officers. So we were very, very accustomed to having police officers around. It wasn't something uncommon. And at the time, it was kind of neat to be the kid in school whose father was a police officer. It was always kind of
Right.
it was good. But by the same token, of that generation and maybe earlier, there was always a level of respect for police officers, but there might have even bordered on fear, and that's in this day and age, here in 2016, I feel we're respected. My officers in the city are respected, but respect cuts both ways. The respect is earned. And so that's one thing that I hold my officers accountable for. They need to earn that respect of the public, and and you don't do that with a heavy hand.
By the way, I want to thank one of your officers that you really know who got the honor of being awarded by the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, sir, I do.
Mr. Joe Fisher.
Joe Singer.
Joe Singer, I'm
Yep,
sorry,
great
Joe.
kid, great kid. Another veteran, he's a former Marine. Yes, sir.
Yep. And by the way, tell us a little about your service in Lebanon. People don't realize that you've been to the Middle East once, twice?
Yeah, it's twice, yeah.
Twice.
It was a lifetime ago. But I enlisted in '81. I got off active duty in '86. So during that time, after the Beirut bombing, I was deployed.
You was there during that time?
I was in Camp Lejeune when it happened, and I was in Lebanon within probably about 2 days, 2-3 days thereafter. So we were part of the reaction force that was flown out of Camp Lejeune to augment the forces that were there.
That's
so that
good.
was my first trip to Lebanon, and after that I was called back into for the first Gulf War, but I didn't serve overseas during that one. So I've been in and out of the reserves ever since.
And I was going to ask you, let's see, I want to jump around a little, one more thing here. On those body cameras, and this morning I got up, I turned on the news on the TV, and the first thing I hear, 2 police officers shot in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Correct.
The other day there was another police officer that was shot, and the cameras that they had on him chasing a guy from Taunton to New Hampshire to Nashua,
right.
Getting a bad rap on there. Wouldn't it be smart to have the cameras there automatically so the people can see what really went on? Because you can't tell when you're looking back from there.
And we looked into the body cameras.
By the way, do you have an idea how much they cost a piece, if I may ask, approximately?
The cost isn't so much with the price of the unit. The unit is fairly inexpensive.
That's all right, but it's not that expensive?
It's not. What is expensive is maintaining all that data. All the footage that you record. You need to maintain that. Part of the cost is going to be you're probably going to need to hire somebody just to be the custodian of that data, so that when it's requested from court by attorneys or whatnot, they need to be able to produce it, make copies of it, email it to either the district attorney or make a copy for the defense attorneys that are going to be requesting this. So there's a lot of data. That's where the cost comes in.
Right, but wouldn't that be more, if I may use the word, less expensive than having to pay off millions of dollars for something that the police may not be responsible at all just to get it out of the way?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we found, we researched it. We've worked with a little bit with Axiom, which is a subsidiary of Taser. Axiom makes a body-worn camera, and I've met with their sales rep several times. And what we found through our own independent research is that probably about 90 to 95% of the time the camera exonerates the police officer. About 4 or 5% of the time, an officer may be found to have been acting outside of the capacity of his employment, and it's about 5% that's inconclusive. So it's roughly between.
The only thing that bothers me, Chief, is when they show that picture on TV, which is a negative of the police.
Right.
Why didn't they just use the taser?
Difficult to say. I mean, it's hard to say if those officers even had one on them.
It's not an automatic thing?
No, it isn't. We have some, and I won't get into our operational deployments, but we have tasers. We've used them, for the past couple of years now. It's a good tool. But much like any other tool, it's one of the many tools that we have. It's appropriate for some applications, but not all. I don't know that those officers had tasers, and just getting back to that incident, it is very early on. I know it is under investigation by both Massachusetts and New Hampshire State Police, and I'm confident that they'll take whatever appropriate action is necessary upon the conclusion of their investigation. I'm sure they're going to see that it's handled appropriately.
Right. By the way, we got about 3.5 minutes left.
Time flies when you're having
fun. I know
fun.
That's right. Just leave me 1 minute, but discuss anything you would like to see in the future for the police, or the future for our city, or the future for our country.
I would like to keep moving in the positive direction we are moving in now. We have a lot of fine young officers. We have a lot of fine older officers too, veteran officers. We have a good mix. We have some of the best equipped and trained police officers, I think, in our area. here in the Revere Police Department. And I would like to continue that forward progress, you know, into the as far into the future as we can carry it. I mean, this is technology is very heavy in law enforcement in this day and age, and it's a generational thing. The younger kids we're hiring now are far more tech savvy than we are.
If I go to high school and college and I get out and I want to be a police officer, get me started. How would I go about it?
When civil service posts an exam, you take the exam.
Do you have to be a college graduate?
No, you don't. No, you have to be
high school.
High school graduate. Yes, high school graduate and a Massachusetts resident, and so you take the test, and it's you know, obviously you get a raw score. Veterans get a particular status. Disabled veterans get a higher status. Survivors of officers who have been killed or permanently disabled in the line of duty get top status.
Oh.
So, you know, as a veteran, you would only be competing then within veterans, and you would go to the forefront of the list.
So that's pretty good.
So that, and I mean, as a veteran, and I'm sure you can appreciate that, as we have hired many veterans.
Is there any age limit? Is there an age limit?
I think that would be discriminatory. No, I don't believe there is an age limit.
You mean I still have
You come on and take a shot. Well, you have to retire by 65, so that's
Oh,
the
you
cutoff.
do?
Yes, we have a mandatory retirement at 65.
Okay, so I'm already retired before
You're
I start.
already retired, right, right, exactly.
Chief, I want to say thank you for
Thank you
coming
very
out
much,
to
Morris.
Revere
Thank you very
Veterans. It's
much.
an honor and a
Thank you.
pleasure to have you, sir, and
It's
thank
an
you
honor,
again
and
for your
thank you,
service.
Thank you for your service.
May God bless you and take good
You
care
too.
of you and the whole group of that in the city.
I got a
of
great bunch
Revere.
of kids.
Thank you. And God bless our great country and all the people serving overseas in our armed forces. And most of all, our great country, the United States of America. And Chief, thank you again for coming.
It's my pleasure, Morris. Anytime.
Thank you.